The brand new Tyranid Codex is here, and guess what? I already broke it. What else did you expect? You might have seen I released 2 videos about the Tyranid Codex already to give you all of the information literally as fast as possible. The Vanguard onslaught allows early outflanks of Vanguard invader units like Death Leapers, Lictors, G-Thillers, or anything that can fly. All Tyranid units can fall back and charge, whilst Vanguard invader units can also advance and charge. You can upgrade your Vanguard invader characters with the following enhancements: Hunting Grounds to force your... This is great. I'll just play a video. I don't need to talk. Just listen. Reserves to take a battle shock test. Chameleonic to give stealth and cover for protection whilst lurking. Stalker to let the character hunt a particular enemy for +1 to hit and wound. And Neurano to redeploy 3 invader units. And it's after the first turn roll, so it's useful. There's also 6 stratagems. Surprise Assault to get +1 to hit and perhaps +1 to wound after a battle shock test. Assassin's Beast to target characters. Seed and Bruise to arrive on the table earlier from strategic reserves. Hypersensory Cilia to react to your opponents getting too close. Invisible Hunters to take units off the board. And Unseen Lurkers to hide in plain sight and gain lone operative or make it even better. All Tyranids also come with Synapse and Shadow in the Warp. And that's it. But what happens when you take Vanguard Onslaught and push it to the limit? Here it is. The list of lists. You're looking at a lot of stuff. You're looking at a list row with the points found in here. So... balanced data slate permitting, it still works. I left you 10 points. This is my list that I think is probably one of the strongest lists in this book, or something close to it. But I think the core of it, or the core concept of it, is pretty lit. Okay, Vanguard Onslaught. It's great. It's great. Your entire army can fall back and charge, which is really good. But Vanguard invaders can they can advance and charge as well. Okay, so let's just take an entirely flying or infiltrating or scout moving army. Your entire army pretty much can infiltrate all of the main big characters, except for the high tyrants and the gene stealers. Everything can infiltrate. Okay, you deploy the entire army 9 inches away if you want to. But the characters also have a lone operative, so they can't be targeted over 12. So this gives you 6 characters that all can't be targeted with over 12, which are really good at screwing with your opponent because of their rules that they have. They're really good at playing missions, such as getting engaged on all fronts because they're really hard to target, deploying teleport homers, doing investigate signals. They're really good doing all the tricks, okay? Playing all the missions, and also they're all really, really cheap. You also have 3 units of 6 Von Ryan's Leapers. Von Ryan's Leapers are pretty nice, to be fair. They get a whole bunch of attacks. 3 wins is kind of nice, because a lot of things are damaged too. They can use the Heroic Intervention strat for free, even if it's already been used this phase. They have 6 attacks each, and there's 6 of them, so it's a whole bunch of attacks at strength 5, -1 damage. Now it's only -1 and 1 damage, but it's just a bunch of attacks. They also have Infiltrators, obviously, so you can deploy 9 away. They have Stealth, so they're pretty much always getting cover, and they fight first. So you get charged, you fight first. If you lock something in combat, you still fight first, which is kind of nice. You also have 2 Flyrants. Now, Flyrants are pretty fun because they are fast. They allow you to use stratagems for free, and there's a lot of good stratagems, as we've just gone over in Vanguard Onslaught. And the stratagems are kind of like playing Gene Stealer Cults and Grey Knights and Eldar all at the same time, okay? So being able to use multiple stratagems a turn is really good, because what you can do is pick up like 4 units and put them in reserve turn 1, and then bring them down turn 1 using the stratagem known as Invisible Hunter, which is very cool. Any opponent's fight phase, you can pick up 2 Vanguard invader units, which is not limited to infantry, or 1 Tyranid infantry unit, which is none of these units. So you can pick up 4 units by using that stratagem for free. So, and then you can bring them on early turn 1 because they've been placed into strategic reserves, or they're going into reserves. You can use things like Cedar Broods, 1 Tyranid unit, or up to 2 Vanguard invader units that are in reserves, and they can arrive earlier than normal, which is very cool strat. You can set up early, so if you do pull off your Vanguard Von Ryan's Leapers, or even the Hive Tyrants turn 1 because you went second, you pull them off the board. During your turn 1, you place Cedar Broods and arrive on the table earlier than normal. You can bring them back on turn 1 and start doing stuff. 30 Gene Stealers, only 1 Broodlord. Broodlord gives them devastating wounds. 30 Gene Stealers. Gene Stealers infiltrate 8 and have an 8-inch move and can advance and charge. That is a minimum, on average, a minimum of like 17-inch move, but on average, a 20-inch move before charging turn 1 if you go first. And the great thing is, if you don't go first, they scout 8, so they can move 8 inches in any direction. And you also have Neuro Node, which is 30 points, which allows you to redeploy 3 units. Okay, let's say you infiltrated all of your characters with Lone Operative. Well, they can't be targeted over 12, so they're a pretty safe position, probably, as long as you place them right. The Von Ryan Leapers are all on the front line, so you can pick up 3 units and redeploy them. You can put them somewhere else on the board, or put them in strategic reserve, and then bring them on early using the stratagem. And then all your G-Sealers that you deployed on the front line get to move 8. You just move them 8 out the way. And then you're like, Mikey, why have you got Ripper Swarms? Let me tell you why I've got Ripper Swarms. You can deep strike them and they're 15 points. You take single Ripper Swarms now because that's what comes in the box. Thanks, Games Workshop. For 15 points, you get a 40mm base that can deep strike. Okay. It can't hold an objective, but what you can do is half the OC value of other units nearby, which is great. But you know when you just draw in to deploy Teleport Homer? Or engage? Or anything? You just go, okay, here's a Ripper Swarm. Got it. And he's so dumb. He's so dumb. So you just go, I can outplay the mission all day. I've got 2 High Tyrants, 30 G-Sealers, and 18 Von Ryan's Leapers to kind of annoy my opponent. No, this list will not table you. This will not table you turn 1. But what it does do, it allows you to throw so much at your opponent to wrap, to trap, to annoy, to precision characters, because pretty much everything has precision, or you can give them precision, such as Assassin's Beasts, 1 Vanguard Invader infantry unit that has not fought, such as those Von Ryan's Leapers. They can go and snipe characters in combat. You just turn up, you put all your characters in cool places, and this is not even considering what the characters actually do. They're just Lone Operative. That's all I've told you so far. So they just arrive, they do all the missions, they have a great time. You've got 2 Flyers that advance and charge. How far do Flyers move again? They move 12, so minimum 15-inch move, and then charging, especially when the most popular board, chat. Let me show you the most popular board in the game. This bad boy, the corners, the search and destroy, and guess what? That point to that point, and this point to that point are very close. It's about 18 inches. So if you think a Hive Tyrant's deployed here and you advance it, it's already here, outside your deployment zone, ready to charge something. Probably being able to charge something on this objective very, very early. It's less than 18. There you go, I see you, Chief. It's less than 18. It's a very short distance between deployment zones. Now, if you're going to go into Custodies, yeah, you're gonna hurt. But the fact is that you have all of these units that can go and alpha any other list, go wrap some tanks, go bully some characters, as I mentioned, be on every objective turn 1. Pretty much do any card that you draw turn 1. But let me tell you about the characters. The Neurolictor, best 60 points in the game, probably. Lone Operative, Stealth, and Infiltrators, as I said. If you kill a character, you gain a CP. Now, it's essentially a Lictor that's worse in combat. It's only 1 damage rather than 2. It still has precision, a strength 6 -2, 1 damage, which is nice. But it has a 4+4 at T5 with 7 wounds, so a pretty good amount of wounds for 60 points. In your command phase, let one enemy unit within 12 inches of this model, it must take a battle shock test, which is nice. You're just forcing things to take battle shock test. Whilst a unit is within 12 inches, if that unit is battle shocked, you subtract 1 from the hit roll, and all tyranids get +1 to wound against that unit. So the Neurolictor with Lone Op, it can get close enough that it can start forcing units to battle shock, but also giving your entire army +1 to wound, which is pretty nice. You then have the Parasite of Mortrex, which each time an infantry model is destroyed by this model, which is actually pretty good. It's got 6 attack, strength 5 -1, 1 damage, but then it has an extra attack, which is like the anti-infantry 3+, strength 3, -2, 3 damage, so pretty much kills an infantry every time, you'd hope. You get a Ripper Swarm, so doing more actions, having a great time. If you select a unit in the fight phase that's engaged with it, you make it battle shocked. So you can, another way to make a battle shock a unit. Vanguard Assault has a stratagem to just battle shock a unit anywhere on the battlefield as it's written. It's called Surprise Assault. Let me pull it up on here. Your shoot phase or fight phase. You choose 1 Vanguard Invader unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight, and 1 enemy unit. Okay, and we've got the same problem that we had with the Helverin, the Arbiger strat. So it says that enemy unit must take a battle shock test until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets the enemy unit, add 1 to hit roll. If the battle shock test has failed, add 1 to wound, which is great. But also, it doesn't say you have to select that model to get it. You get +1 to hit against them. But what you do is you go, I'll spend 1 CP, battle shock test, please. I'm not going to engage with you. I'm going to shoot something else. Okay, but what you can do is force a battle shock here, force a battle shock there. The neural lictor obviously gives you +1 to wound against units that are battle shock that are near that one. So you can just go, right, you over there, battle shock. Okay, I could do it twice in a turn with the Hive Tyrant. You know, I go surprise assault on this unit and surprise assault on this unit. 2 battle shocks, please. And battle shock doesn't come up too much because a lot of the time you do it in the command phase, you fail one, and then you auto pass it with a command point. But what you can do is force battle shocks in multiple phases where they can't use that stratagem. And if you're forcing your opponent to take battle shocks multiple times a turn, they're going to fail some, and some of those are going to be crucial. Now, you could take 3 lictors, you could take 3 neurolictors, to be honest. I think neurolictors are probably better. They're just... Lictors are better in combat, that's all really. But they also have a cool strat or a cool ability called Pheromone Trail, which is once per battle round, you can target this model with rapid ingress for 1 CP. So if you want to put a couple in reserve, you can deep strike them. If you want to pick them up and put them down in your opponent's turn, which is also cool, they can come down for free. And every time they kill a character, they gain a CP, which is obviously all these good stratagems. You're going to want loads of CP. I almost considered putting a Swarm Lord in for that reason. I feel like with Hive Tyrants and Lictors probably going in with precision at 6 attack, strength 7, -2 damage. That is pretty nice. And then finally the Death Leaper. Now the Death Leaper can be your Warlord, which is cool. Basically a better Lictor. But whilst an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, worsen the leadership characteristic of models in that unit by 1. In addition, if in the battle shock step of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit is below its starting strength, it must take a battle shock. So that's another way to force a battle shock even before they're below half strength. Also, Gwatkin, you're perfectly right. The Neurolictor is in the command phase, not in the battle shock step. So you're forcing loads of different ways to battle shock a unit, and a lot of the time they can't ignore it. The other enhancements, now I'm not specifically put down which enhancement goes where, because I don't think it really matters. Neuronode, to redeploy 3 in Vanguard Invader units and put them in reserve if you want to, after the first turn roll, and obviously you got scouts on the Gene Stealers and stuff like that. Now, Chameleonic is great on a High Tyrant because it gives benefit of cover and stealth, which is nice. So stealth is mediocre, but giving a Hive Tyrant essentially +1 save for 15 points. So it'll have essentially a 1+ save. It's pretty nice. And then Hunting Grounds. Hunting Grounds is the fun one. While the bear is set up on the battlefield, so this goes on like the Parasite who's hiding at the back or something, or a Lictor that's hiding at the back, or the Brood Lord that's waiting in the deployment zone or something. While the bear is on the battlefield, each time your opponent sets up a reserves unit, roll a d6 on a 2+, that unit must take a battle shot test. So that's another way to force a battle shock test. If you get enough battle shocks going off and your opponent starts failing them, there'll be like a cascade of their efficiency will fall through the floor, and you'll be able to go, oh, I'm only OC1, but you're OC0 because you failed the battle shock, so I'll yoink that objective, please. And that's going to like really fuck with your opponent's plans. And what it's going to do is stop your opponent playing the mission. This isn't a list that's going to charge you and kill your opponent's army turn 1. What it's going to do is be a list that it gives your opponent a lot to deal with early, and then you go in and you battle shock out half their army, and then they can't play the mission while your lone operatives are like, just deploy the teleport, Homer. And then your Ripper Swarm comes down and goes, behind enemy lines! Sometimes writing a list isn't just about killing your opponent. A lot of the time, it's going to come down to outplaying your opponent, and this forces your opponent's hand of not being able to do stuff and be like, oh, well, that unit was going to get engaged. It's really fast, but now this slow unit has to advance to try and get engaged because the other one's battle shocked, and it doesn't count. So that's the plan. That's the game plan. I think this is going to be a really hard army to play, but it has so many tools in the toolbox. It's great. It's so good, I think. I think it's the best way to run them. And I think all the Lictor molds are really cool. Again, you can play around with it. Maybe 2 Neurolictors would be fun. You know, maybe drop the Parasite if you don't want some of the... I feel like the Parasite's really fast, so that could be good for playing the mission and screening and stuff like that. But it's all lone operative, all infiltrating, all stealth, or it can deep strike, or it can scout. The really broken thing, probably the biggest broken thing about this codex is this. You don't need to buy it. I know, shock horror. This codex, you don't even need to buy it. You know why? You know why you don't need to buy it? It's because Invasion Fleet is really good, but it's also identical to the Index, okay? Now, the Index is still available. It might not be available forever, okay? But Invasion Fleet Synaptic Nexus and Invasion Onslaught, Vanguard Onslaught are probably the 3 strongest out of the 6. The 3 strongest ones to run. And Invasion Fleet has a lot of play still. Now, Vanguard Onslaught is great. Super tricksy, super fun. I think Synaptic Nexus, I've not looked at it too much to get a real like opinion on it. But Invasion Fleet is very strong. We just saw Nathan Roberts go 5-1 with it this weekend. And a lot of the data sheets are basically the same as well. There's obviously new ones, but a lot of the data sheets are the same. So if you went out and you downloaded the index or you bought the index cards for the start of the edition and you really like running Invasion Fleet, you actually don't even need to buy the codex. You only really need to get hold of the data sheets of the new models, and you can continue to play Invasion Fleet, which is something that I think Games Workshop haven't realized. If they make the free one really good, people don't even need to go out and buy it. They can just carry on playing Invasion Fleet, which is great. I think pretty all-arounder, which is nice, which means you can have a lot of play of different units. Every unit feels like good to a point in that detachment, and you don't have to buy it. So there's my first review of the Tyranid Codex, I guess.